The guy, 29 meters, I'm 25 feet, dating, and his friends gatekeeped me about my hobbies and career. I'm feeling embarrassed. I need some help processing this. They made me question whether or not I'm actually authentic when it comes to what I'm interested in. I feel like I don't want to talk about my interests with anyone because I don't want to be pop quizzed. The person I'm dating, together 3 months, I'll call him Dan, recently invited me out to dinner to meet some of his coworkers. The first red flag was he invited everyone out to a Hooters and said they chose that restaurant because it's close to where they work and is easy to get to. Which is true, but there are several other restaurants nearby that offer better food and a better atmosphere. Before he invited me out to dinner, he half-joked that his coworkers, all of them are male, didn't believe that he was dating a hot girl that's into the same hobbies as them. The air hobbies that are considered to be primarily for men. I was a little irked at that comment, but he said he was just joking around. This pretty much became the catchphrase for the men that night. When everyone arrived at the restaurant, Dan and his coworkers were making comments about the girls that worked there and their physical appearances. This made me a little uncomfortable, but I didn't say anything. Once everyone ordered their food drink, his friends started to quiz me about my interests. Many of them share the same male-dominated hobbies I'm interested in, and they more or less just tried to see if I knew facts about the hobby, as opposed to asking me questions about what I like, don't like, or what I'm currently doing in said hobby. For example, if my hobby was American history, one of them would ask an esoteric question like, "Oh, so you like American history? How many $1 bills are currently in circulation? How old is the French Broad River?" I also work as a junior automation engineer at a startup software company. I haven't been writing code that long, as I was working in QA prior and learned how to code while I was in that position. I'm really green, and I know I still have a lot to learn. The projects I'm working on are small, and I'm getting help at work. All of his friends are senior-level software engineers and were quizzing me about my work and trying to see how much I actually know. They were asking about advanced things I did not know about, and were asking me technical questions that don't even apply to my job. But they were all smiling and laughing, and would frequently say something like, "Oh, we're just kidding." At one point, I felt like I was at some weird interview and was taking one question at a time from each D-bag at the table. I know I stopped fake smiling at some point and just emotionlessly answered their questions. I think one of them became self-aware because he just looked down at his phone for the rest of the evening, didn't ask me anything else, and just looked uncomfortable. When they weren't asking pointed questions at me, they were talking to each other and ignoring me. I'd be interrupted if I tried to include my thoughts on the subject, or nod at me and look away to someone else. I should mention all of these guys were 5 to 10 years older than me. I'm 25. The guy I'm dating is 29, and his coworkers are in their early mid-30s. I don't have as much experience as they do. Part of me was hoping I could meet peers who could have helped guide me or answer my questions about their careers. Instead, one of them literally asked me to give him a SQL query. They all kept saying they were just kidding around or just joking and laughing about it, but it was so cringy. Dan was sitting beside me and wasn't stopping this behavior from his coworkers. He was coaching me, I guess, saying things like, "Oh, you know this one," or "Come on, you got this, we talked about this last week." Dan also made the comment of, "See, she's really smart too," to one of the guys at the table. That whole night was just awful. He was actually irritated at me because he saw my whole mood change while I was being quizzed by his friends. He said he noticed me having an attitude with his coworkers when they were just having fun and trying to get to know me. That it was immature of me to have been too obviously annoyed, and that I audibly sighed multiple times when one of his friends spoke to me. I can't stop seeing Dan as a super cringy dude now. I thought he was acting ridiculous and seemed more like a 13-year-old boy as opposed to someone who is supposed to be turning 30 in a couple of months. I'm pretty sure I can't go on with the relationship at this point. I don't think this is an overreaction on my part if I were to break up with him. Is it within reason to end a relationship after this event? Everything was going fine before this happened, but now I just feel gross. The dinner happened last night, and I haven't returned any of his texts today. I know ghosting is wrong, but I don't want to look at him or speak to him. The thought of him just kind of disgusts me at this point. I've never felt like someone's show poodle before. I don't know if I'll feel differently in a week or if I'm unjustified in my anger. TL.dr. Went out with BF and his friends. They gatekeeped me about my hobbies and careers all night. Dan encouraged this behavior. I acted as unenthusiastic show poodle and unceremoniously answered their stupid questions. Dan is mad at me for not playing along and having a bad attitude. Update. After the post, I decided it would be best to end things through a phone call. I mentioned ghosting, but it's probably best he knows how and why he fucked up. I waited until Saturday to reach out to him, told him, "We need to talk." I'm paraphrasing here, but this is basically what the convo went like. Dan, this is about the dinner, isn't it? Me, yeah, it is. Dan, and? Me, I don't think I've ever felt so unwelcome in a group before. It felt like a shitty interview. All they did was test my knowledge. No one tried to get to know me, and when actual conversation was going on, I was ignored or interrupted if I tried to talk. Dan, I don't feel it like it was anything like that. Me. Okay, so how often do you guys sit around just asking questions like, quick, what is the SQL query if you want to delete 2 rows from 2 different tables? Dan, I don't know. Me. No, really? Do you quiz your friends randomly like that at work or out and about? Dan, no, not really. Me. And why not? Why don't you just ask lightning round quizzes like that? B/C, it's not what normal people do? Dan, I don't know. They were just having fun and joking around. Me. It wasn't fun for me. I have male and female friends in all sorts of professions. I've never cornered any of them to test their knowledge. I trust they know what they're doing. I ask them about work, what they're doing, normal questions. Dan. Okay. Me. I'm not going to print out a CPA exam and quiz my accountant friend. Don't you think that would be a little fucked up? Dan. I don't know. Maybe? We talked a little more about that night, and I gave him more specific examples of what he and his friends did, and he never really had any good answered. It was a lot of "I don't know" and single-word answers. I told him I created a Reddit post and I would send it to him. He was a little pissed off that I did that. Felt like I had no right to. So, at the end of the conversation, he asked if we were done. I told him yeah, that I can't see a future with him, that I saw a different side of him that night, and I don't want to be someone's prize poodle on display for the world to see. He didn't really say anything after that and just hung up the phone. I sent him the URL for my first post. He texted me throughout the weekend, but I didn't respond. He read the post that I sent him and wasn't happy with it, and said he couldn't believe so many people were on my side and were hating on him. He sent a few more angry texts after that, like he couldn't believe we were breaking up over something so stupid. He did send a few rounds of "I'm sorries" and "let's try to work through this." But when I didn't respond, he just went back to angry texting me. Also, I did find his friend who buried his head in his phone that night and sent him the Reddit link and asked if that sounded like what happened. Dan's friend said he knew what his friends were doing were wrong and felt bad for me. He apologized for not stepping in and assumed that Dan would eventually speak up for me on my behalf. He also apologized for joining them in the beginning and wished me luck in my career.